Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 6 of Black Voices in Real Estate. Thank you so much for joining me. We are here to talk about not only real estate, but what it looks like in the Black community, the wins that we have as realtors and as loan officers and as people in the real estate space, as well as some of our challenges. Today, I have with us, sound the alarm. I have Will Higgins. Will Higgins is a powerhouse in real estate. He's not only a powerhouse, he's an icon here at eXp Realty. And Will has successfully been able to grow his business organically without knowing people in the area that he lives in, without a big, huge following. He started his business and has created it to be what it is today. And I am just so thankful that he was willing to sit down with me to talk about all things real estate. Welcome.
First of all, anything for you, Maisha.
Thank you.
I again, oftentimes we don't get to get our flowers, right? But I want to say, I have to say that you're an amazing person. Anything you need, I'm always here, right? But just what you're doing, as a mother, as a businesswoman, I think you set a great example, for all of us.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me here.
Of course. Of course. All right. So tell me, what inspired you? What brought you into the real estate space?
Oh, do you want the long story or the short story?
Let's do the short story because we got other questions to cover.
Okay, perfect. So, again, I took the traditional route. So I went and got my undergrad, got my MBA, all those great things. Well, something happened when I finished undergrad, and that was I did not get a job. Right. So I didn't get a job right out of undergrad, or I didn't get the job that I wanted right out of undergrad. So I was just going to the gym every day, and I met this guy at the gym. He was there every day. He drove a nice car, and I'm just like, what do you do? Right. Because I always ask questions. Right. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm at where I'm at, because I always ask questions.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I do real estate. Right. But this was the type of real estate they were doing back in 06, 07 that crashed the market type real estate, right?
Got you.
So I got involved with this guy, and he was doing some fraud stuff, and I learned, right? But then I executed one deal with this guy, and where it was one of those deals where he wanted half of the commission and all that other stuff, and I flipped the script and I gave him what's called, as we know, as like a referral fee, right? So I gave him a finder's fee. He was upset, but I ended up purchasing my first piece of real estate, right? That piece of real estate, again, it was overvalued, but when the market crashed, right, I stopped paying for the real estate. So I thought I was going to lose it. I thought it was going to foreclose on me, right? Well, what happened was they ended up giving me the property. So I stopped paying for the property. I was renting it out. I was getting the monthly rent. And then I stopped paying for it, let it go. The bank gave me the property.
The bank called you and was like, please keep it.
Exactly. So I hurry up and fixed the property up, and I was getting $800 a month, $850, I think, a month for a couple years, right? Then after that, the people stopped paying, and I had to evict them. They ripped all the pipes out the wall, right? I filed an insurance claim.
Okay.
Got a big check, $17,000.
Wow.
Okay. Then after that, I had made so much money off the property. Like I'm one person that knows when something is good, or when I'm done with something, or I've exhausted all my resources. So then at that point, what I did was I donated the home to charity. Okay. I got $100,000 write-off. Wow. And then got $20,000 back. So I had made so much money off that one property. And I'm getting to the point here.
Yeah.
But after that, I was like, there's something about real estate. I need to pursue this further, but ended up getting a job in corporate America, worked for 12 years, and then found my way back. So that's the story.
That's the short story. Nice. I love it. I mean, you've told me about this thing with this house before. And I mean, I was working for the banks at that time. So I remember us doing that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Because the market was just bleeding and we were trying to stop the bleeding. So crazy story, but you learned.
Yeah, I learned.
So the next question that I kind of want to know, I want to kind of piggyback off of that. Investments. So you decided at a young age probably before you even married and had children,
Mm-hmm.
to invest in a property, and you learned what that investment could do for you.
Yeah.
When I look at home ownership and then I look at the numbers of how many of us are actual players in the investment space, it's like
Mm-hmm.
7% of us.
Yeah. Very
What are
small
your
number.
feelings about that? How do we get more of us to stop being, because I love the word that you told me, and I think that's really what helped me look at things a different way, even when it came to switching brokerages. You said Black people are late adopters.
Yep.
We don't trust anybody. We're very, um, it's like scared money don't make no money.
Yep.
But we're so scared and hold on to our money when it comes to investments, not when it comes to try to live lavish and
Yep.
sometimes show off,
Yep.
but when it comes to investments, how do we like change that conversation? I see John Hope Bryan doing a lot of work around this, and I think voices like ours need to be heard in this space.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a multi-layered question
Mm-hmm.
because well, the result is multi-layered, right? Because we can look at this a couple of different angles. One, we don't have mentors. We don't have people that look like us out there doing it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, like you said, scared money don't make no money. Well, we're worrying about what we could lose. And quite frankly, when you don't have much, if you take one loss, it could wipe you out.
Absolutely.
So I think it's having mentorship. I think it's being more vocal about us doing this stuff so that other people can see, because sometimes they just need to see. And I say this a lot in a lot of my content, things I do. I did this just so you could know, or you could see that it could be done.
It could be done.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Like I mean, I literally almost killed myself hitting Icon that year because I needed people that looked like me to see that it could be done.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we need a lot more of that. We need some of us being more, and not the flashy ones, you know what I mean? But just everyday people.
Yeah.
Breaking it down on how they invest, but also what it's done for their family.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, because you hit that icon status, not only did that turn you into a public speaker, it gave you a platform. It gave you people who wanted to find out, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
How did you do it? And you've invited so many people and built a huge, what do we call it? You've built just a huge group within EXP's group of agents. You've brought on so many agents, and some have come and gone, come back again, you name it. But you have a huge following because of, like you said, I almost killed myself trying to show you guys what was possible.
Yeah.
How do you feel what you do every day helps bring more people to want you to mentor them, to want you to speak life into them? Like what?
Yeah.
Because it's not always easy to do that.
Right.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah. I think the difference in what I put out there, not saying other people aren't, but I'm super authentic, right? Like it's not the flash and the flare. Like this is what I did. It's when things are bad, I'm telling you things are bad, right? And I don't know if that helps me or hurts me, but all I can do is be me, right? So I'm just 100% authentic.
And I mean, I appreciate that, because so many people, like you said, it's the flash. It's, people getting this business thinking it's going to be like $1 million listing. And we tell people all the time, this is not what this is.
No, most of those people are not selling homes. The people on these shows, they're not selling homes. They're literally not selling homes.
No.
We run circles around a lot of these people. Right. And that's why I say, like, I love what you do, and I love that you're doing it. And it's, more people need to be following your success. But a lot of times, because we don't have all the flash, we're not getting that. Right. They're looking at the quote unquote luxury agent. Right.
Yeah.
And they think that it's the lifestyle that sells, not the life. Right. And we're telling you, like, the truth, like, this is the life. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. And I'm like, I mean, I'm just not that flashy of a person. I just never have been. I'm not impressed easily.
Uh-huh.
But, some people are, and that's what salespeople. Tell me what you feel happens when people come to um, a brokerage like an EXP. Like, why do so many people hold off? Like, I mean, I've shared my story on why I held
Yeah.
off, but share like what people aren't getting because there's
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, a couple things. One thing I've realized is that EXP is a brokerage for entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that, it's not for the agent that's not going to sell a home. It's not for the agent that is, I'm just going to part-time. If somebody needs to sell or buy, I'm here, right? It's for the agent that's truly an entrepreneur and a business owner, because anything you want, anything you need, it's here, right? Everything everybody else has, we have and more. And it's just some of the things that they get comfortable with, i.e., we're sitting in the office right now. This is my office, right?
Right.
But they get comfortable because there's an office environment, and office environment is great, but nobody in that office is giving you business.
Nobody's even showing up to have those offices.
Nobody shows up.
They gatekeep.
They gatekeep, right? EXP is for entrepreneurs, and it's for people that ask questions, because this model, the collaboration here, is off the charts, right? I tell the story all the time. I was doing great. I can go anywhere right now. I can go to Century 21 right now and be a good agent, right? And I'm gonna still do the same business, right? But I was at KW, and again, I was doing great things there, but I was doing $15-16 million a year. I came to EXP, my business doubled. And it wasn't much that changed. The main thing that changed is there was the collaboration, because there wasn't the gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Here, again, when you win, I win. I've opened up the playbook.
Yeah.
Everything that I do, Maisha, I tell you exactly.
Absolutely. The icons are the ones who teach.
Exactly.
The non-icons, the cappers are the ones who teach the ones who want to sell a property. Like, we're literally, it's just trickling down. We're trying to build not only our own businesses, but we're trying to help other people build theirs, and you have to want it too.
Yeah. And again, that's why I say it's my success has been because I'm thinking like an entrepreneur, but also I ask questions. You know what I mean? I ask questions, and
not only ask questions, you execute.
I execute, exactly. But you would be surprised at the number of questions I get from people about how to do anything. Nobody asked me anything, and it's gotten to the point where I stopped forcing that information on people.
Yeah.
Right, because that causes me to burn out. So, but I'm an open book. Yeah.
All right. When it comes to what we're seeing happening with these tariffs,
Okay.
with the trade war, with the economy, how do you feel like that is affecting not only our business today, but what do you think that is going to bring to real estate moving forward?
Yeah. So confusion. Like the market, everything has been riddled with confusion, and a confused mind does nothing. So that's where we're at right now. Everyone is confused, and people always say, but there's information out there. There's too much information. Right. So I think as realtors, I think this is the golden age for us, especially with social media. You can be that voice of reason. Right. But also, I think that changes are going to have to be made, right? Because we're a capitalistic society, and I think a lot of that has gotten us into the problem that we have. Why are we picking a fight with someone that owns so much of our debt? Why are we picking a fight with someone my whole neighborhood is Chinese?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why are we picking a fight when we've shipped all of our manufacturing jobs overseas and they're making all of our goods and services? So, again, I things have to change, and I think things are going to be a little wonky for a little while. And if we want to continue this and bring stuff back stateside, I think that's going to take some years, maybe
Yeah.
even, a decade or so.
Decades.
Yeah.
I mean, not only that, you think about like the cost to build a home,
Mm-hmm.
the lumber, the steel to build buildings. Those come from other countries.
Yeah.
And yes, we could get them from here, but they've been coming from other countries.
Yep.
So we know that is going to increase the cost of home ownership, of building, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, there's a couple of things of ways that will be affected, right? So
mhm,
yes, things are going to be more expensive, right? To build a
right.
home, to repair a home, to put the stuff in your home, all that stuff is going to get more expensive. But what they're not talking about is the debt, the
Mhm,
bonds, right?
mhm,
So if folks start to unload these bonds, what
mhm.
could happen is that the interest rates could shoot up.
Yeah,
So we could see 10, 15, 20% interest rates. And then at that point, it's not a good
it
market for
shuts the whole
anybody, or it
market
shuts the
down.
whole market
Yeah.
down. So, I've been telling people, hey, if you're a buyer, this is a great time to buy because, now interest rates aren't sky high, right? And if you're a seller, you can actually sell your home because if
Mhm.
all these things happen, guess what? Price is going to have to come down
Yeah.
and homes are going to sit because now they're really scared. And we have not experienced any of this.
Yeah. And I mean, we're seeing homes sit, but not to the magnitude of what they will
Right.
sit
Right.
if this continues to get
Right. And
worse.
and again, the beauty of our network is that we have people all over the country, right? So I'm talking to some folks and they're saying it's taking 40, 50 days to sell a home. And they're like,
Hmm.
that's fine. Well, here, 14 days, we're
Yeah,
like,
we're
we're
like,
shaking, like something's going wrong. Something's going on. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, definitely. Where do you see? Because I was just reading an article last night and then this morning again, I saw them touching on it again, saying
uh-huh.
that the Fed is going to be forced to reduce these rates because we have high inflation,
Yep.
we have a crazy like market going on,
Mm-hmm.
and our unemployment numbers, although they're still low, they're going to grow because more and more companies are starting to tighten
AI.
their belts
Yeah.
and they're starting to lay off. I keep
Mm-hmm.
reading, this company is laying off this company is laying off that. And yes, AI plays a big part in
Mm-hmm.
that, but also the more people that get laid off, the more that affects our market. And then they're talking about, then we go into what's called stagflation.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts on all of that? Do you think the Fed is going to bring the rate down?
I think somebody's going to have to do something. But at that point, if they do bring the rates down, I mean, honestly, I think price needs to come down too,
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that
You think prices need to come down?
I think prices need to come
Your
down
sellers
too.
don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I think price needs to come down too.
They
But
do,
yeah,
though.
I definitely feel like they'll have to do something in the short term to get things moving,
Mm-hmm.
right? But will that even solve the problem?
We're in a bubble of
Yeah.
unaffordability right now. You have high prices, high interest rates, and usually it's always high prices, low interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
high interest rates, low prices. And we've just, for the last 3 or 4 years, have not seen that happen.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it. I think we talked about it this morning, right?
Yeah.
Like, uh, this is a market that again, I'm newer than you, so I haven't experienced this, but the folks that came in a couple years ago, it was like gangbusters,
Oh, yeah.
you know. So
They thought this was just like how it is all the time. And to
yes,
tell some of them it's not,
yes.
they didn't listen and now they're seeing it.
Yes, yes, yes. So, for me, I'm thinking this is more normal than what we had, a couple years ago where it was
Mm-hmm.
just crazy, right? Because at the end of the day, homes are still selling. And I think,
Absolutely.
I think as realtors, I think we just have to find our lane. We have to be flexible. But as a realtor, the greatest skill you can have is being able to lead generate.
Mm-hmm.
And with the phone and the internet and all these other things, we have to dive in. We have to master these things because homes are still selling. And
Mm-hmm.
even when the market crashed, homes were still selling.
Homes always, real
Yeah.
estate always moves. No matter what is going on in the world, real estate will always move
Yes.
because that's how the world works. That's how
Well,
the world
everyone
goes
needs a
around.
place to stay.
Yeah. So whether,
It's one of the main things you need as a person, right?
yep,
Shelter.
absolutely. So AI, you brought it up briefly.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about your perspective on AI and real estate, like for us, it's been really helpful.
Yes.
But you have people who literally think it's going to take over the business of real estate, and people aren't going to utilize human beings anymore for real estate. I tend to not think that way, but what are your thoughts?
I think we have a 10-year run left
Okay.
in us.
And then you
Those are
think
my
AI is
thoughts.
going to take over.
Those are my thoughts. I think AI is it's disrupting so fast, and it does so many things so well, right? And as a realtor, there's so much that we need to know. Think about it in the past. In the past, a realtor just kind of worked in their local area, right? Now, honestly, we're covering hundreds of square miles.
Right.
And how can you know, be a expert in a market in the valley, and we live in, Chino
Yeah.
Hills, Rancho, right?
Yeah.
AI can,
Yeah.
you know.
True.
For example, I'm listing a triplex, and I'm going back and forth on the pricing. So I went to AI and I started feeding it all the information, told it what it was rented for. It gave me back the cap rates. I said, okay, I want to sell it for this. It was like, you know what? Actually, you could probably get about $50,000 more. It knows everything. It knows everything. So, just like how consumers, I feel, trust Zillow sometimes more than they trust you.
Yeah.
It's going to happen the same thing with AI. They're going to trust AI more than they trust you. So, like I said, I think we have a 10-year run. I think the best thing you can do is specialize. And that's what I was talking to my wife about. I'm like, should we specialize? I'd like to specialize in relocation. A lot of my sellers actually leave the state. But also, before getting into real estate, I used to move every 2 years in my past job. So I'm
you're
very
familiar
familiar.
with it.
Very, very, very familiar. And guess what? When you relocate, you have to sell.
Yes.
So, I think you're going to have to specialize. You're going to have a niche, because or else you're just being a generalist. AI is going to wipe the floor with you.
That's a good perspective. That's a really good perspective. I didn't think about it like that. You look at the Blockbuster model. You look at what happened with them with Netflix, and what happened with Amazon and people going to stores versus now people use how did everybody shop more?
Amazon.
Not Amazon, but even grocery shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is like ordering everything online.
Well, because it's time and convenience.
Yes. So I definitely think that the model of real estate will change. I think there will still be a human connection that's needed for it, though, in some aspects. But looking at like the way lenders do lending, I think AI is going to take a lot of that over too.
Oh, yeah.
Because why wouldn't it?
Well, it knows everything, right?
It knows so much.
It could underwrite a file like that.
Yes. They don't need like a human being giving their perspective on underwriting.
Yeah.
I went to the doctor, what was it, like a week or two ago, and the lady calls me up to take a photocopy of my ID, and she said, "Oh, all I need is your ID. You did everything else online." And I told her, I said, "It's kind of crazy. Like now, when you have a doctor's appointment, they want you to do everything online before you even get there, answer all these questions, and send them a picture of your ID and send them a picture of like your insurance card." I said, "The only reason I didn't do it was because my wallet wasn't next to me when I was filling the thing out. So I was like, oh, I'll give it to them when I get here." And she said, "Yeah, it's almost like our jobs are not needed anymore."
Well, I mean, think about how real estate used to be done. It was almost like a handshake, right?
Oh, people came into the office to get help.
Yeah.
Like nobody comes into our offices anymore. You have to actually hunt the business down. Before, the business came right on through the door.
Yeah. But also, again, think about how the banks lent money. It was almost just like a handshake, right?
Yeah.
And think about it like this. In the future, if AI knows everything about you, right? They know that you haven't missed a payment on that Tesla.
Right.
They know that you haven't missed a payment on that house.
Right.
Right. They know that you consistently deposit money in your account, right? So why wouldn't they pay this $4,000 mortgage?
Right.
So let them have it.
Exactly. Versus the opposite. They're
Exactly.
missing everything. Don't give it to them.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So yeah, super disruptive. I can go on and on for days. I think we're at a point right now where we really need to be using it, and we can get a leg up. Right. Like I told you, I sent you this morning. I
yeah,
redesigned my whole YouTube channel, and I was able to rebrand everything, create a logo, things that I would take
take
weeks to go
weeks to
back and
do.
forth with a designer. I was able to do in seconds. So I think it's one of those things where you really need to take advantage right now and get ahead, as far ahead as possible.
Yeah.
Because also, as realtors, again, like I said, we have a 10-year run, right? But we have competition coming in at all
Left and
points,
right,
left
yeah.
and right, and the competition aren't the older agents; it's the TikTok folks on TikTok that are coming in right now with 1 million
The
followers,
21,
100,000
20,
followers.
25-year-olds who
Exactly,
are hungry for
exactly,
business, and people, they have a following, so people
exactly.
will contact
Exactly.
them.
So use AI to your advantage right now to get as far ahead as possible.
Absolutely. So I want you to give your plug for EXP, because we were talking about earlier, the thing that keeps people away from EXP sometimes is the fees.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like $85 a month. I've had people who are like, I'm ready to join. Where do I sign up? And then when I go over everything, they're like, I got to pay $85 a month. Granted, I just came from a brokerage that was paying $1,500 a year just for E&O.
Uh-huh.
And then not only $1,500 for E&O, there's no cap.
Yeah.
There's no strategy as far as an exit strategy to look into how can I retire from here. There's no what do you call it? Stock.
Yeah. It's fun. It's funny you mentioned that. My wife and I talked about this morning, because I've seen agents sit at brokerages forever, but when they come to EXP, they'll come for a little while, then they'll hurry up and leave, right? Like I mentioned, it's a brokerage for entrepreneurs, but also at your small local brokerage, you're in a bubble. There might be one top producer. Here, there's hundreds of them. So
You
most
need to be
if you
recognized.
notice that a lot of agents thrive off recognition, and everybody needs recognition, right? Like people go to war for recognition, right? They
Yeah.
die for recognition. So I definitely get it. But rather than step their game up, they'd rather stay stagnant where they are, right? So, and you're not going to get that here. So, personally, I try my best to try to recognize people, but me, I don't like mediocrity.
Yeah.
I really don't like mediocrity, but I mean, it's definitely a brokerage that is built for entrepreneurs. And if you aren't looking to go to the next level, if you aren't thinking about business, if you aren't thinking about the future, it's not for you, because most of those folks are thinking about right now, and they're just trying to survive. And I get it; it's tough out there. But for example, right, like we don't close a deal every month.
Right. You might close 5 in 1 month, like you
Right,
just did,
exactly.
and then you may not close another deal for a month or two.
Exactly. But this is what I saw a long time ago at EXP, was the ability to build something. And it didn't take long if you come in, focused, right? But now if I don't close a deal, guess what? I still get a rev share check every month. So, I did this whole 30-day series where I challenged myself because I hadn't closed a deal in 90 days.
Right.
But guess what? My lifestyle didn't change because I came to this brokerage.
Right.
And that's what they don't see.
You have different options financially to
Financially,
keep you afloat.
yes. If you don't close a deal that month, guess what? You have stock that you can sell, because it's real money.
Right.
And the thing is, people will tell you that it's not real money because they don't understand it, and they're banking that you don't understand it. Right? So sometimes you have to look at who you're taking advice from, because again, the brokerage I was at, it benefited them for me to be there, right?
Of
Even though I
course.
looked up to that person, I thought that they had my best interest in
Right.
mind. But I went back and looked at some of the messages or the emails that I got before I joined EXP, and basically told me that I'd be ruining my career. You don't tell somebody that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't tell somebody that. And quite frankly, it was probably the best thing I could have ever done, because there was months, because of personal stuff, that I could not work. But guess what? All of my bills were paid. And And that's what people aren't seeing.
Yeah, people aren't seeing how you could actually build a business and build your business completely differently from just real estate.
Well, quite frankly, that's why every brokerage that's created now literally has a similar model, but they're trying to figure out how I can be EXP cheaper, and they're running their business into the ground.
Yep.
But as you notice, they keep making changes, and by the end of things, essentially they're just going to be EXP.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. So I appreciate you coming, giving me your insights. This was long overdue. We should have done this a long time ago, but I am so glad that you came and talked to me about what you feel about AI, what you feel about what's going on in real estate, just all things, you know, investing and things that we as a community can do. Um, if you had one last just nugget that you wanted to give somebody, what would it be to close us out?
Don't be scared of technology, right? Like plug in, dive in. Also, a lot of agents want community. You can create community by just plugging in. There's opportunities all the time. There's people like Maisha. There's people like me. We have, private masterminds. If you're looking to grow in this business, we want to support you. So definitely reach out to us.
All right. And that's it for episode 6 of Black Voices in Real Estate.